this doesn't make sense to me anymore like it did before. And when you said that, people know, that's because when you access expanded awareness beyond the program, you're entering a level that does know. I mean, when we have intuition, what do we call it? We call it an intuitive knowing. The reason we know when we have intuition, rather than my intuition's just working it out, it don't work like that. Your intuition I just know. It's because your intuition is connecting with levels of awareness beyond the program. The program, because it's in the madhouse land of bewilderment, is always trying to work it out, trying to get facts and make sense of facts, and the facts don't make any sense, so you're bewildered and you can't understand what's going on. You get to that level of intuitive knowing, which is just expanded awareness, which anyone can do, and suddenly the clarity's there. You can see it. It's obvious. You just know. And that's the difference. But of course, when you access a level of knowing in a madhouse, bewildered realm of thinking, of course, the bewildered realm thinks you're crazy, because people perceive credibility on the basis largely of what they perceive to be normal. And of course, although the perception download is insanity on a stick, it's all pervading and thus becomes normal. So madness becomes normal, thus madness becomes credible, and challenging the madness becomes not normal, thus not credible. And so you've got this process going on all the time. And in that, those few lines of description, you have the reason why people suddenly start to see the world differently and kind of know things they didn't know before, and why they get the reaction they do when they start to awaken and express their new perceptions of life.
So true. I mean, the way you explain things, I have to say at this point, when I discovered you back during my full-on awakening, I feel like I've been through many stages of it, from my first, psychedelic experiences in college, getting into mysticism, and then you go through all these different cycles in life. But the full-on awakening that happened when I discovered you, what I found so empowering and so, I guess, elucidating is the way you break things down and always bring it to a sense of empowerment. You, as deep as you get into the darkest possible areas of research, you always bring it back to a place of empowerment, a place where there is an ultimate solution available to everybody. And I've patterned much of my work after you, David, because of that, because this is what people need to hear. They need to know these realities. We can't be afraid of them, yet they've got to get through them to an amazing realm of empowerment, infinite potential. And you explain it so clearly, and have helped so many people in this regard. So I just wanted to note that, and it's well noted. I mean, you're very appreciated, and I'm not just blowing smoke at you. This is really something very important and dear to me, and I have told this about you on many occasions, because of its nature and the nature of your books and the way you explain things. And I'll direct people there, and that's no doubt why you get harassed and hassled by people who can't handle the simplicity ultimately, and nor the solutions, that are available to everybody. But I was thinking this morning about this subject. I mean, you put it so beautifully in this paradigm of your new book. And I was thinking this morning how everything, this download, all it is it's very archontic. It's a synthetic information. There's nothing creative about it. And what they do, call them they, is suppress creativity in the human spirit from the very womb, as you said, all the way up. And everything they do is only imprinting, like you said, it's synthetic information. There's nothing creative. There's nothing new. All they can do is copy. And that's why the archontic, the Gnostic teachings are so helpful to so many people, because it really, it brings this spiritual realm into a very practical understanding of how they operate to control the human mind. And another aspect that I've been thinking a lot about lately is this whole idea of how the child is denied its spiritual nature from the outset. And what that causes in psychological terms is a sense of abandonment. And this is passed on to every child. There's not a parent that doesn't pass down to their child this abuse syndrome of denying the child its true nature because they're not aware of it. Very rare if it happens at all. And then people spend the rest of their life trying to find approval from the missing mother, the missing father figure, the lost divine feminine, the lost divine masculine, whatever you want to call it. And they plow through their lives trying to put the pieces together and try these different roles out. And what I've been finding amongst those who are continue to graduate through this awakening process is we're all being challenged with new levels of change. Awakenings, as you know, is a process. Some people think, well, I'm awake or I'm not awake. Well, it's a process. We have always had more to activate. We have tools at our fingertips, spiritual empowerment that we're only barely consciously aware of. We know it's out there. We want to activate it. And I'm really excited about these things coming to life more and more in people. But we're going through changes. We're going through challenges. We're going through redefinitions of our lives, even those of us who've been into this for a long time and study it so intensely. It's a growing process. And as you said, any wise person will say, the more you know, the more you don't know. But the intuitive knowing really kicks in big, and it becomes simpler. But wow, I mean, what a thrilling ride. There couldn't be a better time to be alive. I'm sure you agree with that.
Yeah, in simple terms, if you deny the parents their awareness of their, if you like, spirituality, you deny the child almost totally and almost all the time, and certainly in the formative years. But, for me, all these things about abandonment, loss, isolation, aloneness, people put that in the context of the world they are directly experiencing. So it's abandoned by parents, abandoned by this, alone, left alone. Why could you do this to me? I have this sense of loss. I have this sense of sadness, and you find, if you like, earthly reasons to explain how you feel. But for me, Zen, it all is an expression of the disconnection from true self, because that awareness, which is isolated in the five senses, very systematically by that which is behind the system, it has a sense of being unconnected, although it's not conscious to most people. There is a sense of disconnection, a sense of loss, a sense of abandonment almost. From the time I was a little child, from the earliest time I can remember, I had a background noise of sadness. You'd do things and you'd laugh, but when you were alone, when you had pondering time, there was this sadness. And the more that I've kind of opened my own awareness and started to understand things more, the more I can relate that sadness to two things. One, subconsciously knowing that there's a disconnection here, and it's not anything like the full magnitude of who we are. And the other part of it is the sadness, and I still have this part, not so much at first, the sadness of knowing what the world could be like, while at the same time seeing as it is. Now, um, my own, if you like, journey, I had those amazing experiences in 1990 and what have you. But after that, I was accessing, obviously, this information about reality, and which was challenging the norms. And my question, first of all, was, why isn't this taught in the schools? Why don't we see this stuff in the media? And then when you ask that question, of course, and you seek an answer, you find very quickly because it's suppressed. And then the next question is, why is it suppressed? And suddenly you find yourself on this step-by-step journey into uncovering this vast hidden hand conspiracy, which is at its foundation is very simple. It appears to be complex in all the facets and faces that it takes in doing it, but at its foundation it's very simple. It is to hold humanity in a state of awareness, a state of attention and perception, which is isolating, if you like, incarnate awareness from infinite awareness. And without that chasm, without that disconnection, it's not really a disconnection because you can't disconnect it. What it is, it's a disconnection of the sense of its existence and thus its influence upon perceptions in the five senses. Yes. Once you bridge that gap, everything starts to change. I mean, people say to me, how have you uncovered all this information? How have you done this? How have you done all that? And I say, well, if David Icke, 5 cents name, family history, life story, race, country, had sought to do this, I'd still be on book 1. The reason it's possible is because of connecting with something that is beyond this reality, which can then guide you down the road. I mean, we'll all have this experience that have done this, but my experience was, after that meeting with the psychic, it was just extraordinary. I mean, the word synchronicity could have been invented for it. It was just people, places, experiences, books, documents, all I was walking into them all the time. And not only did the information come to me in abundance, it was coming in almost the right order to best understand it and put the puzzle pieces together.